of isolating Lisa against her will and subjecting her to a church procedure called an introspection rundown. The lawsuit alleges she was confined during the procedure and she went into a coma and severely dehydrated, even though it was obvious she needed urgent medical attention.
There was no instruction to isolate Lisa, was there?
No, absolutely not. That was Lisa's wish.
For our first report, we were told that Lisa had requested to be alone. She just wanted to get some rest. We were also told there were no medical professionals in the hotel, and she was only being checked on by good friends and hotel employees. Well, that does not appear to be the case.
Hospital and police reports from the night Lisa died indicate she was accompanied to the emergency room by a fellow Scientologist named Janice Johnson. Inside Edition has learned that Johnson is actually a medical doctor who was licensed in Arizona under her married name, Fitzgerald. But listen to what Church Attorney Abelson told us in January. He said there was no one at the hotel capable of realizing how serious Lisa's condition was.
If this wasn't a hotel, and these weren't, and there were some trained people to look for things like what happened, she would have gone to the hospital earlier, probably.
He went on to say,
but you can't put me or you after the event in the place of the people who were just hotel employees, really.
Dr. Johnson, certainly not just a hotel employee. In fact, she was the church's medical liaison officer at the time of Lisa's death. We wanted to ask her some questions, but she didn't want to talk to us.
Were you with Lisa McPherson when she died? Can I ask you some questions about Lisa's death, please?
Maybe she didn't want to talk to us because she's not licensed to practice in Florida. Inside Edition has learned she's not even licensed to practice in her home state of Arizona. In 1994, the Arizona State Medical Board investigated Johnson for allegations of drug abuse. Without admitting wrongdoing, Johnson signed an agreement giving up her right to practice or prescribe medicine in that state.
Could I just talk to you for a second, please?
Church Attorney Elliot Abelson told us any questions about Dr. Johnson should be referred to him. But when we showed up this week in Los Angeles for an interview he scheduled, Abelson said he would only read a prepared statement.
The church, probably more than any other entity, wants the truth to be known concerning Lisa's last 17 days, and really a celebration of the other part of her life, the 18 years that she spent so happily in the church.
When I tried to ask him some questions, he got up and left.
Matt, it's been fine. Thank you very much.
You invited me out here to do an interview, and all you'll do is read a statement. I want to ask you a simple question about something
Matt,
you say.
Matt, it's nice to see you again.
Was Lisa being tended to by medical professionals? You told me the last time we talked that it was
Matt,
hotel employees that were taking care of her.
We had an agreement.
Yes, you told me to come out here and we would do an interview.
Off camera, he and other officials said Dr. Johnson was not practicing medicine. She was just referring people to other doctors. When I asked if Dr. Johnson had been tending to Lisa McPherson, they said that's a question better addressed to the authorities. Back in Clearwater, they're still looking for answers.
She wouldn't want you doing that. Well, she wouldn't want to be dead either.
The church has responded to the family's lawsuit, denying all allegations of wrongdoing. And the church issued a statement today, which in part says, quote, "The charge that the church or anyone else was responsible for Lisa McPherson's death is false and outrageous. It is contrary to the medical examiner's report of death due to a pulmonary embolism. It is contrary to fact. It is contrary to the opinion of 5 experts, including the medical examiners of 3 major cities. This is precisely the type of exploitation of a young woman's death that the church will not tolerate, and it makes the church more determined than ever to bring the truth out in the open so Lisa McPherson can finally rest in peace." End quote. We'll continue to update you on this story.
Everybody, welcome to Inside Edition. I'm Deborah Norville. There is some bizarre new information in the case of a 36-year-old woman who died while in the care of the Church of Scientology. The dead woman's family says this proves that she was being held against her will, while Scientologists say it shows just the opposite. Our Matt Mahar has a follow-up investigation.
In November of 1995, a physically healthy Lisa McPherson was taken by members of the Church of Scientology to their spiritual headquarters in Clearwater, Florida. They say she was having a psychotic episode and needed rest to come out of it. 17 days later, she was dead. Cause of death, a blood clot due to bed rest and severe dehydration. It's estimated she had lost more than 45 pounds. Her body was covered with bruises and insect bites. She'd been kept in a room with a security guard at the door 24 hours a day. And she had somebody inside the room with her the entire time.
What they were trying to do was to feed her, to give her fluids, to get her to rest.
She was banging on the walls trying to get out. She was screaming, yelling at them, kicking them, punching them.
McPherson had been a Scientologist for 18 years. Her family contends she was getting ready to leave Scientology. Church officials say that's untrue.
One of the few things both sides can agree on in this case is that in November of 1995, Lisa was a very troubled person. Church officials say her problems were job-related, but her family says they were the result of Scientologists subjecting her to stressful treatments designed at keeping her in the church.
We have no evidence that she was having trouble at work. What we have evidence of is that she went through ethics handling. In ethics handling, they tell you that all of your problems are your fault, and you have to deal with it.
Ken Dandar is representing Lisa's family in a wrongful death suit against the church. He agrees that on the evening of November 18th, Lisa was having a psychological breakdown. After a minor traffic accident near downtown Clearwater, she took off all her clothes. EMS workers said she asked them for help.
She said that she wanted people to think she was crazy because she wanted people to help her.
Lisa was taken to a nearby hospital for a psychological evaluation. Soon after she arrived, officials of the church showed up and told the doctor they did not want Lisa to see a psychiatrist and that they would be able to handle Lisa themselves. Scientologists believe and teach that psychiatry is evil.
They persuaded in some way Lisa to sign herself out. The doctor didn't want her to leave, so she signed out against medical advice.
Scientologists say Lisa went willingly to their spiritual headquarters at the Fort Harrison Hotel and that she was never held against her will.
She rested, she slept a lot. Nothing unusual, really, until the end of her stay. She did get food, water. Obviously, people talked to her, but she got rest and relaxation.
That's what Scientology's lawyer told us 6 months ago. But since a judge recently ordered some church documents unsealed, that lawyer directed us to a new spokesperson who has a new story.
What the memos show is that Lisa McPherson was talking in non sequitur language. She wasn't saying things that made sense. She was taking off her clothes. She was talking to people who weren't there. She was spitting food. She was jumping in the toilet. She was throwing water out of the toilet. She was doing things that a person who is psychotic does.
According to diary-like notes kept by 5 women who had been assigned to watch Lisa, she sometimes seemed appreciative, thankful, and loving. But at other times, she was violent, punching, kicking, and scratching the people who were watching over her.
She wanted to get out of there, didn't she?
She did not want to get out of there. That is not in there. And Matt, for you to say that, that's sensationalistic, and that may be something you want to put on your TV show.
She tried to get out of the door. I let her sit outside for 5 minutes. She snuck away. Repeatedly, security guards had to be called into the room.
That is so disingenuous and so... I mean, I can't even describe how you're trying to pull those things out of context to make this some exciting story.
The notes are open to a great deal of interpretation, but they make one thing abundantly clear. Almost from the day Lisa McPherson entered the Fort Harrison Hotel, her health deteriorated rapidly. On November 20th, just 2 days after she arrives, she has difficulty even to swallow a bit of water.
On November 22nd, she was like an ice cube. She talked incoherently, hour after hour. She refused to eat. She spit out everything she took. She looked ill, like measles, a chicken pox. Had a fever to my touch. Shouldn't somebody have called a doctor then?
What you're trying to do, Matt, first of all, you pull one thing out of the entirety of the reports, and now you want to substitute your judgment for the judgment of the women who were with her for 2 weeks, who were caring for her.
Some people think the judgment of this woman should have been a lot better. Her name is Dr. Janice Johnson. She was the church's medical officer. She surrendered her medical license in Arizona without admitting any wrongdoing after she was accused of abusing drugs.